Okay, so today we're going to talk about the order of operations. And the big key for the order of operations in mathematics is we use this to decide what operation we should go first if we have a number of operations to do. And generally the order works like this. The order goes parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So that's generally the order that we try to do these things so that it's common and we all get the same answers without ambiguity. Let's look at how we would approach that in this problem over here. So in this problem, the first thing I would do would be inside these parentheses. And inside these parentheses, you get 2 plus 1. And 2 plus 1 gives you 3. So now we have 3 squared times 3 minus 4. The next thing that I would want to do would be to do my exponent, which is this little 2. That tells you to do 3 times 3, which would give you 9 minus 4. And you can notice how I took away the parentheses when I did that, and I put this little time symbol. If something is pressed up against it with parentheses, that means to multiply. Again, we're going to do the next operation, which will be multiplication. And that would be 27 minus 4. And 27 minus 4 would give us 21. And that would be our final answer. Let's look at a couple more of these problems. Okay, so here's our second example. And again, we're going to use our order to help us out. We don't have any parentheses, so we don't have to worry about that this time. We do have an exponent, and our exponent is 3 to the second power, which we just did that as 9. So we're going to have 5 minus 9 plus 7. Here's where I get some people that get confused. People a lot of times want to do this addition first. Now, for the order of operations, if you've noticed, I've wrote these on the same line, like multiplication slash division and addition slash subtraction. They're on the same playing field. So what happens if you get anything on the same line, what you do is the leftmost operation to the rightmost operation. So for this problem, because addition and subtraction are on the same level of operations, we will do the leftmost operation first, which would be 5 minus 9, which is negative 4. Then we'll add 7, which will give us 3 for our final answer. Let's look at another problem. Again, for this problem, we're going to take it and we're going to think about all the things that we have. This one looks really similar to the last one. The only difference is we have these parentheses right here. Now when you look at these parentheses, it's just trying to help you to tell you that this negative 3 is getting squared. Well, negative 3 squared gives you a positive 9, so we're going to have 5 plus 9 minus 4. And again, because we have no parentheses anymore, no exponents, no multiplication and division, we only have addition and subtraction. So we're going to go left to right. 5 plus 9 is 14. Minus 4 gives me 10. And that would be my final answer. Okay, this example is hard for most people just because we have these things that kind of look the same. See how we have 5 plus 7 and 3 plus 2. So there's a lot of people that want to do those operations first. Unfortunately, again, we got to follow the order of operations, so we don't have parentheses, no exponents, but we do have multiplication and division. So first thing we'll have to do is multiply, and that will give me 21. And then again at this spot, they're all the same operation, which is addition and subtraction. So we're going to go from left to right, so that would be 27 plus 2. Or whoops, that'd be 26, because 5 plus 21 is 26. And that's going to be equal to 28, which would be my final answer. we're going to look at one last problem. This problem right here is fairly infamous. It was really popular on Facebook for a while, where people would post it and say, what is the answer? And there would actually be two answers that people would generally get, and they would argue which was the correct one. So we're going to use our order of operations and see which one is the right one at the end. Here's what we're going to do. Again, we'll start with parentheses. That makes it really easy. That would give me 6 divided by 2. And then we're going to leave our parentheses for a second. Now, again, if you remember what it means when two numbers are pressed up against each other, is it means that's multiplication. So this is really 6 divided by 2 times 3. And what a lot of people like to do, again, was to times 2 times 3. But again, when multiplication and division, they are the same level of operations. When you get to this side, you got to go from left to right. And the leftmost operation would be division, which that means this would be 6 divided by 2, which would give me 3. And then 3 times 3 would end up giving me 9. So that is the correct final answer for this problem. Now you might have got to this part of the video and go, why is this the order of operations? Why is it always parentheses and exponents, then multiplication and division, then addition and subtraction? Like, why is it always this one? Did someone just make this up? And the answer is yes and no. The parentheses are a made-up operation for mathematicians. They use them to say this is going first. We need some way of breaking the order if we need to. Everything else is based off of logic. And here's how I like to think about it. I like to think about what exponents are. Exponents are something like if you take 3 to the second. 3 to the second, how you'd solve this is you do 3 times 3, and you get 9. Well, if you really look what that's doing, is it's telling you to multiply 3 a certain number of times. So really, what exponents are is their repeated multiplication. If I can have enough room to spell this. So that's what it is. It's just a repeated multiplication. So if you think about it, if it's repeated multiplication, it should be higher than multiplication. It should come first because it's kind of got their own unique parentheses because it's just multiplying a number of times. Well, then when we get to multiplication, we should think about when we get to multiplication. Oh, what's multiplication do? Well, if we took something like 2 times 3, that would tell me that I need 2 groups of 3, which would be 3 plus 3. So if you think about what multiplication really is, multiplication is just repeated addition. So if you think about that, addition is just addition, but multiplication is repeated addition, and exponents are repeated multiplication. So exponents, in the grand terms of things, is repeated addition. So any operation that is repeated kind of gets a higher power, or should come first because it essentially is the same thing, it's just doing it more times. So if we had an operation that was like repeated exponentiation, it might fall right in between there. So it's just because it's a higher option. And then you might go, well, why is multiplication and division on the same line then? Like division isn't repeated subtraction. How does that work? Well, we'll talk about it later, but division is actually just multiplication. It's a special type of multiplication, just like subtraction is essentially addition. The subtraction one's a lot easier to show. So let's just show that subtraction is the same thing as addition. So if I do 3 minus 2, that gives me negative 1, or positive 1, because 3 minus 2 is 1. Well, that's subtraction. I could have also said this is the same thing as 3 plus negative 2, which is 1. So these problems are the same. Subtraction is really just adding a negative. It's not any different. It's the same thing. So when we talk about all of these kind of things, there's a reason for our order of operation, because they're just repeated operations of the operation below. So this is just repeated multiplication. This is just repeated addition. And these things are actually just the same. If you need any help for any of the problems today, please ask, and I will do my best to help.